I was working as a PA on a TV show. I was the first PA on set at the abandoned Riverview Mental Institution. It was 6 a.m. and still dark outside. I had just finished opening and decided to sit down while I waited for the other crew, so I sat down on a chair next to a stairwell. I was really tired and starting to zone out when, suddenly, I heard the faint sounds of children laughing and playing. I realized the sounds were coming from the basement. There was no possibility of anyone being around for kilometers. As my first coworker arrived, I asked if they could hear the sounds of children as well. The noises stopped as soon as I asked. Just another day of work at Riverview. The best story of working on films there was during a show when, after a good take, we were about to move on, but the sound mixer was like, "No, we need to go again." The director was like, "It sounded fine, what's the problem?" And he goes to listen to the playback, and man, the look on his face as he listened to that audio, and then said, "Yeah, let's do it again." Later, the sound mixer told us that halfway through the take, he picked up a loud woman screaming. Nobody had heard it during the filming. There's a lot of great stories from crews that worked there. It's where that movie Grave Encounters was filmed, as well as almost every other movie and TV show ever produced in Vancouver. I work for a resort that also handles off-property functions for big groups. The most popular one is a banquet inside of an old Civil War fort. My job is setting up and breaking down stuff for said event, so I was there from around 5 p.m. to 3 a.m. that night. I was almost done pulling plywood when a coworker dared me to walk down one of the hallways leading to the stairs, and I figured, why not? I made it about halfway with no phone light when they shut off the floodlights on me. I couldn't see anything, and I immediately felt a pressure on my chest and a sense of dread. Suddenly, my coworker yelled for me and turned on his phone. I ran for him and what seemed like the safety of the light. I expected him to be laughing at me when I got back, but he was spooked. He said that when he turned on the light, he saw shadows behind me. We finished that night and finally left. I hated that place. Here's a strange experience I had working late at the library 2 years ago. It was long after everyone had left, and I was doing a general tidy-up of all the floors, 9 in total, this being a big university library. I was pushing away rubbish and books left out and making sure no one had fallen asleep or stayed on studying and was going to get locked in. When I got to the 6th floor, I went about calling out casually for anyone who was still around to go to the ground floor and leave, as always. Usually there was no one there as late as 3 hours after closing, but it was always worth checking. The floor was basically spotless, aside from one big pile of books at a desk. All these books were from different parts of the floor, so it took ages to find them all. As I was putting these away, I became aware of sounds from above my head. At first, a couple of dull thumps made me think I jammed a book in the wrong way and caused a row to tumble off the shelf, but it sounded distinctly muffled as though it were coming from upstairs. As I'm walking through the corridor into the physics section of the library, there are sounds again from upstairs, the dull thump of something moving around, this time with the striking impression that it's footsteps. The impression grows clear the longer I stay on level 6. I'm scared, but I decide to check it out anyway. Once I'm done putting the books away, I walk up the stairs to level 7 and stick my head through the door from the stair foyer. Pitch black. All the lights are off. We're meant to leave them on overnight, and I feel certain that I didn't turn them off. Now I can't hear any sounds. I call out meekly a couple of times, but I'm too scared to walk in. I felt certain that if I were to turn the lights on, I would be suddenly face to face with something unpleasant, but this was probably paranoia and I knew it, so I just slowly closed the door and left. I remembered that I had forgotten to lock level 6, so I moved back onto that floor. and as I'm locking the male toilets and doing one last scan of the floor, something catches my eye. It's a desk pushed against the wall, with a pile of books on top of it. Heart racing, I walk over to the desk, a cold, heavy feeling in my stomach as I realize it's the same desk as before, and the exact same pile of books. The moment I see this, there's a calamity of noise upstairs, banging, kicking, thudding all over the place. So I just bolt down the stairs, don't even bother to lock the bathrooms, clear the books, call out, whatever. I just lock every single floor and catch a taxi home. I never asked anyone about it, never heard of anything like it happening before. I guess it's not the spookiest, but that memory will always stay with me.